Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris portraying herself as an underdog candidate and a fighter. She addressed her party's convention on this closing night here in Chicago. Right now we're getting reactions to the vice president's speech from some undecided voters in the crucial battleground of Pennsylvania. CNN's Gary Tuckman is in Allentown. So Gary, who's with you and what are they saying about the speech?
Well, Anderson, we do come to you from Allentown in the heart of the beautiful Lehigh Valley in eastern Pennsylvania. And we are with 8 residents of the Lehigh Valley who've been watching television with us tonight and watching Kamala Harris's speech. I do want to say they all have something in common. As you said, Anderson, none of these people before tonight have made a decision about who they will vote for in November. And at least one person here before tonight wasn't sure she was going to vote at all because she doesn't like either of the candidates. Also, what they have in common, 5 of these people, they're all 5 of them loyal union members from the UAW local, United Auto Workers, here in the Lehigh Valley. So thank you all for being here. First thing I want to ask you, I want you to grade the speech, okay? A is excellent, B above average, C average, D below average. We all know what F is. Let's start with you. How do you grade the speech?
I gave her a B+.
B.
B+.
A.
B+.
A.
C.
C. So mostly A's and B's with 1 C. I want to ask you why you made the decision you made. First of all, we start with Scott, who is the president of the UAW local here in the Lehigh Valley. Scott, what grade did you give it again?
B+.
How come?
I gave her the high grade because I thought she looked very confident. I liked how she spoke from her heart. I liked her message of unity and the division that we have in America. I like her fight for the middle class and families. The reason I didn't give her an A was I thought she needed to go into a little more detail on some of her plans of how she would, do some of the things that she envisioned.
Okay, Lindsay, you're in sales. You're the person who wasn't sure she was going to vote for anybody because you don't like either of these 2 candidates. I'll ask you more about that in a minute, but first, what grade did you give the speech?
I gave it a B.
How come?
I thought it was a good speech. I mean, she did what she was supposed to do. I liked that she was talked about her upbringing, made it feel a little more personal. But yeah, I thought it was a good speech.
Okay, Andy, you're also with the UAW. You make cars and trucks for us Americans, so thank you for that, along with the rest of you. Your grade again was?
B+.
How come B+?
I liked her plan for the middle class. My wife's a nurse. I'm an auto worker. I'm as middle class as you can get. I just felt like she should go a little more in depth, but I guess I understand you can't really go as in depth in these speeches, but a little bit more would have been nice.
Okay, Donna is your mother.
Yes.
Donna's a retired dental hygienist. Donna, what grade did you give it again?
I gave her an A.
And how come an A?
Because she hit all the points that I wanted to know about. I wanted to know more about her economic policies, her foreign policy. I know she couldn't go into depth about that, but I mean, I felt that she looked very presidential. She sounded presidential, and I think she's going to be a unifier.
Yeah, by the way, going into tonight, Andy was 60-40 with Kamala Harris. You were 50-50, which is interesting. We'll talk more about that in a second. Patrick, also with the UAW. Grade you gave it again?
A B+.
How come B+?
Well, she was very confident in what she was saying. She showed leadership ability and understanding of the topics at hand. But again, she didn't go in depth. I did like what she said about what she's going to try to do for the middle class, about a tax break for us, which will be very nice, but still a little bit more information on some of the things that she's planning on doing.
Sean, also with the UAW. The grade you gave it again?
I gave her an A.
How come?
I was looking for policy information. I really wanted to see some substantive policy information. I thought she did give enough. I like what she gave on military, what she wants to do for our veterans, and with border control. I just think that she has a lot of good ideas, and she's very well spoken. I think she was very professional.
Sabrina is your daughter, and also a UAW member, helping to make cars and trucks for America. Your grade again?
A.
How come an A?
I think she was very well spoken. She was very clear on what her policies were and elaborated on them with the time given, and the fact that she's wants to bring back rights for women.
And Brian, you're in real estate. You're a nice guy too, like everyone in this panel, and you gave the only C. How come you gave a C?
She wasn't clear enough on the policies. She did speak a lot of her personal history, which was great, but I still
don't feel like she's ready. I feel like more so she should wait. I don't want to, per se, vote for someone that is a backup.
All right, well, but I'm going to ask you shortly. You're obviously not ready to vote for Kamala Harris.
Right.
I'm sure about that. But what I want to ask all of you all together at this point, like I said, none of you were ready to make a commitment to any candidate in November. Please raise your hand right now if you're now ready to make a commitment after today. Wow. I'm just kind of surprised by it. We haven't rehearsed this. I'm going to make that very clear. Maybe we'll attest to this. 7 of you are now ready. Scott?
Yes, I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris.
Andy?
Yeah, Kamala Harris. Yes.
Donna?
Yes, I'm voting for her also.
Sean? Sean?
Yes, Kamala.
Sabrina?
Carmela.
Patrick?
Kamala.
Brian?
Trump.
Trump? And finally, Lindsay.
Still probably not voting.
You don't like either of them.
Nope.
What led to you all making a decision? Was it that decisive of an evening, Scott?
Yeah, I really, as I said before, I really liked her confidence. She's really seemed presidential. She seemed very confident. Like I said, she spoke from her heart. I like how she filled you in on her background, that she struggled, her mother struggled,
All right.
middle-class family.
Donna, you were 50-50 going into the evening. What made you make a decision?
Well, I've been doing research since she was, the nominee, and I like what I'm reading. And here, I've been watching the convention, and her speech was just, that just sold me.
And Brian, you decided on Trump. What about tonight? Because when we met last week, you were undecided. What about tonight made you decide you were going to vote?
Her speech was great. I like how she went into personal history again. It was just not moving for me.
But it made you think that Trump's a better candidate than her.
He's here for it. He's a little bit more aggressive. She's aggressive in her way, but I think she'll be aggressive in the next term.
So Trump over Harris for you, Harris over Trump for most of you. What I will tell you, 75 days now until Election Day. So Lindsay, you have a few more nights to sleep on it. Thank you all for coming and joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anderson,
problem.
back to you.
Gary Tuckman, thanks. That was fascinating.
It was fascinating
yeah.
because instead of talking about the Trump curious, which we often talk about, we have Kamala curious. There are some people who still want to know more. They're not all the way there, and I think, that is going to be an interesting dynamic in some of these battleground states where there are still swing districts. I don't necessarily believe we can have wild swings the way we used to, given gerrymandering, etc., but there are people who want to know more.
One of the things that was said there's no doubt about that one of the disadvantages she has, and Scott's talked about it a lot, is she's the vice president. So what did she do as vice president? The advantage she has is people don't know a lot, and they're getting new information, and that new information, certainly the way she told her story tonight, the way she shared her views, was, I think, important. The two things that I want to mention is, I think that the line that probably tested best in this whole speech was, "I will be a president for the whole country," because that's such a contrast with the way Trump presents himself. And then the whole end of the speech was a paean to America, and basically going after the idea of denigrating the country, which has been so part and parcel of Trump's attack. I think people like to think of America as a positive place, and that was the tenor of the end of her speech, and I think it was very powerful.